Hello, Trash Talkers. I'm your host, Jamie, and we're back again this week for a special episode. Why is it special? Well, today I have with me this awesome guest, Detective Haynes, who has been investigating a recent string of littering.
Our interests align. You made a wise choice reaching out to me.
So, Detective, how did you end up chasing litterbugs for a living? Was it a childhood dream?
Well, let's just say I've always had a knack for spotting the rotten apples in the barrel, or in this case, the trash bags on the sidewalk.
I can imagine. So, walk us through a typical day in the life of a litter detective.
It's a lot of waiting for some schmuck to think he's too good, waiting on warrants, and waiting in a stakeout. It can't all be chasing down rogue soda cans and runaway candy wrappers. The stakes are high, and I have to be patient to catch the scum that walk these streets and the ones that put it there.
I bet. I bet the stakes are high. So, have you ever had any close calls in your pursuit of cleanliness?
Definitely. One time I was tailing a suspect who was about to toss a crumpled up burger wrapper when suddenly a gust of wind blew it right into my face. I floundered, and the perp got away for another hour. The rest of the force, well, they never let me forget it.
Wow, that's quite an experience. But tell me, how do you handle these possibly not really guilt-ridden litterbugs you catch?
Well, it's all about giving them a proper education, showing them the effects of their rampant negligence. I have to remind them that they're littering their own reputation. I have to show them how to properly dispose of trash like themselves.
Wow. Now, do you have any tips for our listeners who want to help keep their streets clean?
It's simple, really. If you see littering, pick it up. If you think of littering, don't. I may be the last line of defense against rubbish, but you're all the first. Makes both our lives a lot easier if you help.
Now, I'd heard you'd had one of your famous cases turned into a true crime docuseries. Is that right?
Uh, that, yeah, it was a difficult case with no witnesses or camera footage. Took a while to crack. The only evidence we could find was the actual crime itself.
And did you eventually find the perp? Throw the trash away, you might say?
Mm-hmm. Though, of course, I can't go too in depth here. Might spoil the series. But thanks to our whole department, we were able to link the bottles found on scene to a vending machine purchase and send the litterer to a long time behind community service.
Wow. What a story. I love your dedication to keeping our city clean. Thank you so much for joining us today, Detective Haynes. Keep fighting the good fight.
Thanks. And remember, I better not find you improperly disposing of your waste, or you'll come face to face with the cold, iron trash can of the law.
Thank you, Detective. Now, that's all we have from him today, folks. I know me and the rest of the team here are very thankful for the work Detective Haynes and the rest of his department do to keep our city clean. You can find out more about Detective Haynes by watching the small True Crime docu-series on one of the city's famous cases, linked below. Coming up next, I'd like to speak on the practical ways you, our own listeners, can perform one of the most important of the three R's: reuse. I've got another guest for you today, Mr. Green, who's run many workshops teaching such methods. So take it away and
Oh,
introduce
oh,
yourself,
oh,
Mr.
oh,
Green.
certainly. Uh, Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Ronald Green, and I run a lot of workshops around the city teaching people how to properly reuse their own rubbish.
Now, could you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became involved in this innovative world of litter reuse?
Well, my own journey began when I was a student conducting research on sustainable practices. I realized that one person's trash could truly be a treasure. And from there, my passion for repurposing litter to beautify our landscapes blossomed.
Fascinating. So, what are some of these creative ways we can reuse litter to help clean up our cities?
I really took to keeping our cities and communities clean. The possibilities are endless. For example, plastic bottles can be transformed into eco-friendly planters, whilst old tires can be upcycled into colorful playground equipment. Even something as simple as cardboard boxes can be repurposed into temporary art installations to help brighten up public spaces.
Those are some great ideas. But in opposition to that, have you encountered any unique challenges in your efforts to promote litter reuse?
Definitely. It's, one of the biggest hurdles is changing people's perceptions about litter. Many still view it as nothing more than waste, even their own, rather than the valuable resource waiting to be repurposed that it is. It's all about shifting their mindsets and highlighting the potential for creativity and innovation.
Now, how do you suggest we and our listeners back home get started on our own litter reuse projects?
It's pretty easy to get started on your own. Of course, first you need your own materials, so keep your discarded packaging and bottles and anything else. Then let your imagination run wild or look up some YouTube videos. I've seen some amazing ones, such as turning plastic into thread for knitting, eventually making bags and such. Now, whether it's crafting homemade bird feeders or constructing a community garden using reclaimed materials, there's no limit to the information you can find online. And there's no limit to the amount of people also participating in similar stuff.
Some great ideas, I'm sure many people back home will take inspiration from them. But before we wrap up, do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners who want to make a difference in their own neighborhoods?
Absolutely. Remember that every small act adds up to make a big impact. By reusing litter creatively, we not only beautify our surroundings, but also contribute to a more sustainable future for generations to come. So roll up your sleeves, get creative, and start turning your trash into treasure.
Those are some wise words, Mr. Green. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and passion for litter reuse with us today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to seeing more local forms of the many amazing creations online.
I'm afraid, folks, that's all the time we have today. Now, this episode was primarily focused on showcasing the different ways that people in our society work to keep our communities clean. And I'd like to encourage you to follow in their footsteps, no matter the level of commitment. Any effort makes a difference and assists in keeping our neighborhood clean and healthy. Thank you for listening. We here at Trash Talk will see you again next time. But once again, let's keep the trash talk going. Thank you.